Good morning, everybody. My name is Mickey. I'm your host on today's podcast called Beyond Page One. Today, we're going to be joined by Thomas. He's the founder of Oasis Landscaping, a company built not just on the quality of work, but on a deep foundation of integrity and personal growth and strong leadership. Thomas turned a high school job into a thriving multi-service landscaping and hardscaping business, all while weaving lessons of elite athletes and construction icons around him. He's here to talk about the leadership that he has and who some of his mentors, how to push limits physically and mentally and sharpen his entrepreneurial edge. Thomas, welcome. How are you?
Awesome. Good. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So what originally drew you to landscaping as a summer job, and what made you decide to take the step to full-fledged business?
Yeah. I had actually from when I was probably 10 or 11, I had a couple neighborhood houses that I was mowing lawns for. So I was used to being outside, doing a little bit of labor, making a little bit of money. And then I actually had a neighbor across the street through high school that owned a landscape company. So mom and dad kind of pushed me, hey, you should go work for Ken, work hard, sweat and, get a tan and get in shape and make some money. So did that for, 3 years through high school. And then, after a first year of college at Mount Royal, I actually had to do a sustainable business plan for a Calgary business as part of a school project. And after I did that, I sort of thought, why would I go back and work for this guy next summer? I should do this myself. Started out, I was 19, thought I knew everything, and had to wing it for a few years until I at least learned something. And then here we are almost, 18 years later.
That's awesome. So what would you say some of the earlier roadblocks you faced when, launching in, I think it was 2006, correct?
Yeah, I got set up end of '06. I think 2007 was our first summer. The biggest thing actually got pretty lucky because normally it would be that I'm just this young kid showing up and people would think I don't know what I'm doing. And being 2007 going into 2008, the real estate market and construction market was flying before everything crashed. So we actually got handed checks just for showing up at that point. That was a roadblock that we managed to dodge, being, oh, you're here, you're the only guy that called us back. You're the only guys that showed up. So here's a check in advance, just get it done like you said you would. And then, I spent a couple too many nights on YouTube learning how to do the stuff I said I could do, but figured it out. So that was probably a roadblock that we kind of dodged. But then into 2008, right, real estate market just bottomed out, everything blew out. But we, stayed pretty lucky in that we had some good jobs. We weren't really a big company then. It was me and a buddy and a couple staff. So we were doing, jobs that we were hands-on everything. 2-3 guys, we can just plug away. And we didn't really have the lead of jobs that we have now, but we had enough that we knew that we had work next week. And then next week we'd sign another job or two that we kind of had enough that we could keep rolling and just kept moving. So
That's awesome. That's really cool. Can you, is there like a pivotal moment or a certain project or client that you remember where you're like, okay, we're on the right track here, and this is what I want to do forever.
yeah, I don't I don't really know because sometimes you wake up on your own business going, why the hell am I doing this?
Yeah, no kidding.
Rather than, yep, this is it. Yeah, I think for probably, I'd say up until 2017, 18 was just working hard, enjoying what I was doing, building cool stuff, being able to look back at, even our Instagram over the last 10 years, sort of how it's progressed and what we're doing. That's sort of been a continual boost for me that, we're pretty good at this and should keep doing it. So I think it was around, 2015, 16, decided, should I go back to school? Should I keep doing this? And really just decided to double down and go for it. And that's when I also realized I sort of really just owned my job at that point. We peaked in 2015. We had like 13 guys, and that was hectic and everything was on fire all the time, and didn't really have the structure we needed. So now in the last 10 years, we've been building structure and systems and trying to just build a lot more of a business than, a summer job for a bunch of people that are just going to work hard. So it's kind of just been a continual reminder that we're pretty good at this and we're always getting better. And
Yeah.
even one of our company values that we're just actually in the process of rewriting is continual improvement. So just everything we do, let's always keep learning, let's keep getting better, and then on to the next and learn from
Yeah.
everything that we do.
That's awesome. It's cool when it comes down from, the top down, from the leadership down, right? It shows your employees that, okay, this guy cares, we need to care. Because if you don't, why would they, right?
I think that's even despite everything that you deal with at small business. We had that year in 2015, we actually had a guy that didn't pay us, a builder that didn't pay us, north of $180,000. That was a big, a big punch in the gut, but we, recovered from that. And I think through everything, it's just always been that I'll be, shoulder to shoulder with the guys, jump in, help where I need to. And they do just see that I really, actually do care.
Yeah.
They're not just worker bees. They're part of a team. And that's what we've been working on lately too, is really just developing our leaders from within to, whether it's battle the workforce of people that don't want to go into trades or just people that aren't as skilled as we need them to be, is kind of leveling them up and coaching and supporting them to, grow the people that we need, because maybe they are harder to come by these days.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, finding good talent is always difficult, right? You guys offer a very wide range of landscaping services. What do you feel that truly differentiates your team in a super competitive industry that's also seasonal, right? There's only so many months out of the year that you're making your bread.
Yeah. We, for the longest time, we only did design build, mostly residential, did some commercial kind of when it came across our plate, but we never really went looking for it. And probably about 6 years ago, we sort of started to break off from that a little bit to specialize a bit more. So now a lot of guys do everything, and it's hard to be good at everything. So we had a crew dedicated just for artificial turf and putting greens, because we were seeing a huge increase in that market. We still do lots of that. We have a dedicated irrigation team, supply, install, service, and they work on that. So now with those, and then a maintenance division, we've got 3 different divisions that are pretty specialized that only work on, certain clientele, certain projects. And then we do still have design build as our majority, but we've sort of diversified a bit so that we are kind of able to bring in less skilled workers, teach them 1 or 2 things, build them up where they could graduate to our design build if they wanted to, but that's where you need to kind of know how to do a bit of everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you balance the day-to-day like operations with, growth planning for Oasis? It's hard to juggle.
Yeah, so those were my hardest 2 hires, and I found them last year actually. I've got a guy that came over from another company that was maintenance focused, maintenance and condos and strata projects. And so he came in to work on my hardscape team to learn that side of the business. And then we moved him into the operations role over the winter. And I have my top crew leader from last year, we put into our production manager role this year. That, like, trying to scale and keep my sanity without those 2 guys, I don't know if I could have done it again this year. So Joe is overseeing all of our maintenance. He's sort of the GM of maintenance, but also operations. So he helps me with a lot of the, longer goal growth planning, making sure all our equipment's working. And then Steve's in charge of actually managing that production of hitting our goals, driving the guys, more of the, leader on the ground. So finding those people to help me then build and continue to develop our team, so it's not everything on my plate, has been huge in the last 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's interesting how, I speak to many entrepreneurs about business, and they say really it's the people that they surround themselves with. Sometimes, being the smartest person in the room, let's find a new room, right?
Yeah.
Go find help. That's really cool to hear you say that.
If I'm the smartest guy in the room, we're in trouble. I've been trying to, the last 3-4 years has even just been like, I just need to be less important. Even client contact, it's like, once I'm still in charge of all of our sales at this point, that's probably our next hire, is some sales help.
Yeah.
Once we're shifting to production, it's that handoff to our production team. They're going to take care of you. They're going to stay on top of it, because if I'm focusing on sales and trying to deliver your project, one's going to fail. So
Yeah.
let's have somebody that, takes the reins on that, which at this point is Steve, and he's doing a great job of delivering those projects where I can then keep designing and selling the next ones.
That's awesome. Landscaping often relies heavily on, referrals and local visibility. What has worked well for you in terms of, digital marketing or word of mouth growth, or both, that has helped you achieve this growth and your plan to continue to grow it?
Yeah. Early on, there's the Calgary Home and Garden Show, end of February, had always been a really big jump for us. It's nice and early that we would then get a whole bunch of estimating and, design work done in March and April before most people are calling. So that was always a really good start early on. And then we've found in the last few years, it's a different clientele than we're trying to look for. We're pushing to be closer to the higher end of of the contractors in the city. So when you've got somebody doing a bit of price shopping and they're getting 10 different estimates, we're going to probably be one of the higher ones anyway. So we've just kind of shifted to more, that referral, brand recognition, where people have seen our trucks and trailers, they've seen us work in their neighborhood, and then our online. We've rebuilt our website. We're pushing heavy on Instagram, really just kind of trying to show people what we can build, because a lot of the times people have ideas that they want a cool space in their yard, but they don't really know or understand what's actually possible because they haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Have you leveraged any, new technologies, AI or anything like that to help you with design or growth or even,
For
clients?
design, not really, not yet. Still exploring. It seems like every day it's changing, but
Yeah.
we've used a lot of, Chat GPT and built our own GPTs to kind of start to help us build some of those systems to be able to scale. So even just things of, standard operating procedures. When we've got an issue, it's like, oh, okay, the guys don't actually know how to do this properly. Let's lay it out. Let's
Yeah.
use the AI to help us, so that we're not typing, a full
Yeah.
page of what we want done. We can just, give it a prompt and then tweak it. And helping us develop a training program. That's one of the big things we're working on over the next 6 to 12 months internally, and just kind of using it for all of that, I guess, all that kind of monotonous typing, planning, or when you kind of have an idea, but you don't really know how to get it out, is you
Yeah.
just throw that prompt in there and it's like, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to say. And
Yeah.
then you can tweak it from there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I find that that's how a lot of people are using it. It's really a way to help you get a little bit more creative, right? You have an idea, you punch it in, it gives you back all this information, then you can refine it.
Yeah. And I
That's
think we're
awesome.
going to look at even just like automation of sales process, right? When we've got, an incoming lead, here's our qualifying questions. We do have things linked up where our admin goes back and forth with them a little bit, but they automatically book in our Calendly. It sets a discovery call with me before we get to their site, make sure it's a good fit. So we've made some baby steps
Yeah.
in kind of automation and working with AI and that kind of, companies like Pipedrive and Zapier and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's mind blowing to try and wrap your head around everything that it can do, and trying to figure out what's the right stuff for us.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm in the same boat as you, where we're all constantly, getting leads in, trying to figure out how to best automate it. What are the qualifying questions? Because you don't want to waste people's time or your time, right?
Yeah. Well, in fact, that's worked really well for us now. Is we only implemented that about 4 months ago. Is we have a conversation, qualifying questions, and then we book a discovery call if it sounds like it's a good fit. So it's 30 minutes on Zoom.
Yeah.
Easy for everybody, easier for schedules, and we just talk through it more. I explain our process. I, have somebody basically brain dump to me what you want in your yard, and we talk about budget, we talk about timing, and sometimes from right there, we know it's not a fit, or we just can't meet the timeline, or I've got a wedding in my yard in 2 weeks. Well, that's not happening, and I don't want to put my neck out there and then land on my face. But we found that's a great way to, like you said, not waste their time and not waste ours. Is everybody's busy, right? Family, friends, work, summertime, and if we can get the most out of their time, 30 minutes here or there, find that it is a fit, or sometimes we can even price things out, give you a rough ballpark from that. Well, I think the biggest thing, at least for me when I started it, and what I found after I completed a couple races and just kind of, kept setting goals further down the road, was I was able to increase my capacity personally. And I've talked to a lot of people with bigger companies, more staff, been in it longer. And the biggest thing that they kept telling me was, as your company grows and as you have more people, you have to grow as a leader. And it doesn't actually really pertain to the business. It's all for it, in a way of increasing your capacity, up early, make your bed, do the workout, eat right, all that kind of stuff. Because if you don't, if you can't show up for yourself, then it's that much harder to show up for everybody else. I think we've all probably maybe had a little hangover or two showing up and trying to get through the day, and everything's that much harder. And I feel like that's comparable to, if you stay the same person and everything else is growing, it's like, how am I going to show up for 30, 40 staff in a couple years if I don't have the capacity personally and mentally to
Yeah.
handle what's coming in. I think I think that was probably the biggest thing I learned. And then even just setting goals that maybe seem a little crazy. When I started that, what would it have been? End of 2022. Just had a shitty year, stressful. we were through winter and I realized, I threw on like 15 pounds and just wasn't taking care of myself. And I was like, what is going on here? And so I did the 75 hard program and worked through that program and it's just under 3 months. But then at that point I was like, well, now what? So then I had some friends that did a little local triathlon. So I did that. And then from there, I had some buddies that did Ironmans and they were like, well, now you've got to do one of those. And so setting something sort of 6 months down the road that seemed a little crazy gave you something to work towards. And then you just, right, reverse engineer, figure out how you're going to get there. And next thing you know, you're at the starting line of an Ironman and you're like, what have I done? But yeah.
Awesome.
Even if I find even people are, a lot of Ironman, during an Ironman, you're not allowed any headphones or any communication devices. So people are like, how do you do that for, 6 or 7 hours without some music or something? And it's like, well, one, you're just focused on surviving. But two, you're focused. So, swimming for 45 minutes and, your mind doesn't really wander. It's like you're focused, you just clear everything. And I think it's one of those things that kind of once you do, whether it's an Ironman or it's just, I don't know, going to the gym or just getting a win in whatever you're trying to do, I think it then shows you that you can do something. And then to set that next goal, whatever it is, it's like, hey, well, I did that when I didn't think I could. Maybe I could do that. And just, pushing yourself. And again, like we said earlier, just that continual improvement of just try and be better than you were yesterday. Yeah.
You're a brave man.
The people that are paying your bills are the ones calling the shots. I can't tell you how many times we've had clients that it's like, I gotta seriously go deal with this right now. But they're, you gotta walk them through it. You gotta figure something out. You gotta find a solution if you want to get paid. At the end of the day, everybody's got a boss, and it's somewhere. So I think it's kind of over glamorized a little bit, and people don't realize what it actually takes. Like there's a handful of years where I couldn't even pay myself, or you're living off credit because the business and the people you need to do the work are the ones that need the resources. I think every other business owner I've talked to has definitely had a night before payroll where they didn't know if or how they were going to make it. And that stress keeps you up at night. I mean, if you can't handle a lot of stress and you don't have a network around you of whether it's support or mentors or, a partner or family, like you're probably not going to make it. And that's why all the percentages are so high of businesses that don't, is because it's way more than people think. So I'd say do your homework, make sure you got a credit line and, and that you're prepared to probably, take it on the chin for at least a handful of years before, we're not flying private and we're not on the boat all the time. It's, no, I was still bailing at my house here. It's been raining in Calgary like crazy. My window well was filling up the other day. I'm just like shoveling a trench. I was like, I gotta get my guys over here. I don't like this. This is hard work, Yeah. I got a business that can fix this for me. But, so it's way more than people think. And it takes, in gratification, everything seems to be immediate these days. It's like, it's not 3 months. It's 10 years. Get in, grind, keep grinding. And when you think you're doing all right, something's going to slap you in the face. The truck's going to blow up. Someone's going to quit on you, or a client's not going to pay, and you just roll with it. You're the one that loses the most until, maybe eventually one day you win. Yeah, we actually just went through a bit of like a 10-year vision for me trying to figure out, again, as an owner, it's like, why the hell am I doing this still? What is ideal, 10 years from now look like? If we set that, what does 5 look like? What does 3 look like? And what do I have to do, between now and Christmas to do that? And so I've got some pretty aggressive plans for growth. What that really looks like in services or markets, I don't really know yet, but know what we have to put in place to be able to add more people, build our team, build our systems. Because one thing I've learned, and it's kind of been pounded in my head over, even just this year, is if we stop growing as a company, the thing is we're going to have people that have nowhere else to grow here. I don't need to have a $100 million landscape company, but if I've got 50 people that are awesome leaders and they want to grow, well, if we stop, and we're like, no, we're big enough, then they're going to leave and they're going to go somewhere else where they can grow. So I want to keep building my people, building up teams, and then keep growing the company to a point where those people can keep growing here rather than looking somewhere else or feeling like they've, kind of tapped out their potential here. So, yeah. So I think the biggest thing short term is I'm kind of working in the background on developing an internal, 5-year training program. It's like my initial goal is if you're with me for 5 years, I want to pay you at least 100 grand. Here's your roadmap to get there. Here's all the skills you're going to learn in the process. Here's what you can do, and really just I'm working to develop that over the next 6 months to roll out in the winter for the people that we've got, and then onboard all of our new staff next year with a bit of a roadmap. Right, here's what the trades can do, and here's how we're going to get you there. But yeah, it's ChatGPT's helped me with that one a little bit. I think if you're gonna do it, you got to be all in. I for probably 6 years, I still bartended in the winter and snowboarded and was just kind of working in the summer, laid my guys off because no one wanted to do snow. But then I realized I was bartending to pay for skid steers and trucks. And I was like, well, that's not very smart. I should just use those things to pay for themselves. That we've now been, I think, 13 years into snow removal, and really part of that too was even just for me, I had this fallback. I was like, no, I've worked industry, I can bartend, I can make some money. It's like, but that's half in, half out. So once we committed to snow, it was year round. It's like, let's turn this to a business. Let's keep people year round. And so I think really just being all in, the side hustle is good, if you've got some stability, but when you're ready to take it to the next level, you can't keep that office job while you're doing your side hustle. You just gotta dive right in, or else that safety net is just going to hold you back.
Well, thank you so much for coming
yeah,
today,
man. No worries. Yeah. Hey, we're always looking for good people, right? So yeah, you bet. Well, thanks for having me, Mickey. This has been fun.
100%. 100%. Well said. Awesome, Thomas. Well, thank you so much for coming down today, man. Really appreciate it. We'll be posting this on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts as well. I'll be linking your LinkedIn and any other socials that you have. So for anybody that has any questions to Thomas directly or about the landscaping service, please reach out. I'm sure he'll be happy to chat with you and maybe hire you. Who knows? Awesome. Thank you so much. Of course.